The army did not arrive with thunder. It arrived quietly across sand, stone, and silence. Ahead stood Khaybar, an oasis carved from hardship, guarded by fortresses built over generations. This land was not an empty territory. It was a home. Palm groves planted by ancestors, wells dug by hands that knew the desert better than any empire ever could. But Arabia was changing. After the Treaty of Hudaybiyah, the balance of power tilted sharply. Medina grew stronger. Neutral spaces vanished. Khyber, once politically connected and economically independent, found itself isolated. Pressure mounted, not only military wise but politically. Alliances were demanded. Refusal carried consequences. When the siege began in 1628 AD, it was not a single battle, it was a slow suffocation. The defenders relied on their fortresses, stone walls, narrow passes, elevated ground. They had repelled enemies before. Arrows flew from above. Attacks were pushed back. Days passed, then weeks. But siege warfare does not rush, it waits. One fortress fell, then another. Each loss tightened the noose. Supply routes collapsed. Food grew scarce. Families watched walls that once promised safety become cages of stone. Inside, Khyber resistance remained, but options disappeared. On the attacking side, leadership hardened. Assaults grew more coordinated. Pressure intensified. This was no heroic clash of armies. It was endurance versus inevitability. The strongest force finally fell. Khyber understood something painful. The war was already over. What followed was not slaughter, but terms. The people of Khyber were offered a choice that did not feel like one. They could remain on their land, but not as owners. Fields they had cultivated for generations would now be worked under authority, with a portion of the harvest claimed by the victors. Refusal meant exile. Acceptance meant survival at a cost. History often describes this as mercy, but mercy offered under siege carries weight. Land is more than soil. It is an identity. Control over it defies freedom. And at Khyber, control changed hands without chains, yet not without force. The outcome reshaped Arabia. Medina gained economic strength. Fortified resistance collapsed. A powerful oasis became a managed resource. The walls still stood, but they no longer belonged to those who built them. Khyber is remembered as a military victory, but its deeper legacy lies elsewhere. It showed that conquest does not always arrive with fire. Sometimes it arrives with agreements written by powerful and signed by those who have no ground left to stand on. And that raises a question history rarely asks. When land is taken without burning, is it still a conquest or something more permanent? Follow for stories where silence after war speaks louder than battle cries.